Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Plenty of Browns to talk about a little later in the show. Ashley Bastock from cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer, will join us. We will talk plenty of Browns. We begin by talking Browns. This is from the 33rdteam.com. Those are the former NFL team executives, including Joe Banner. One reason for every NFL team to be optimistic for the Browns: improvement in the passing game. No doubt that the Browns can run the football. You see the delineation there. However, Cleveland has attempted to fix the passing game by bringing in Deshawn Watson, receivers like Cooper and Bell. Browns fans should be excited considering their step up in the passing game in 2021. With that, let's welcome in G. Bush. He is host of the Barbershop 92.3 The Fan from 8 until noon on Saturdays. Also, one of the hosts of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You can catch that 11 to 1 Monday through Friday on YouTube. G. Bush, improved passing game, you buying that? I'm all smiles when I start reading NFL execs saying the same thing I'm thinking.
Yep. Listen, that's what we're looking for. That everyone is looking for, that improved passing game. It even has me choked up a little bit, as you can see. That passing game, I'll tell you what. You got guys like Schwartz. I've seen some pictures of him. He looks like he's put some muscle on. You got guys like Amari Cooper. And I think people are underestimating the impact of a guy like Amari Cooper. Professional route runner, poised, guy doesn't say anything. All he does is get open. And I think this has kind of made guys, we talked about this a little bit. We've talked about it a couple times with Jarvis Landry. Reportedly, hey, Jarvis was offered a decent amount of change. He didn't take it, and the Browns looked like they were okay with their receiving room. And the reason why they're a little upset, they're okay with their receiving room, is because you're going to be upgraded at your passing game. And what I mean by that is the gimme throws are going to be there. The throws that's the intermediate 5 to 7 check downs, the sit down, the curls, the digs, the slants. All those are going to be on money. All on the sheet and all on time. Also, you're still going to be able to use certain things like Deshaun Watson's legs. You'll still be able to have the screen game, and I think you'll see a much more diverse passing game using the running backs. We've still wanted to see Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the passing game. I think you'll see that more, and I definitely believe you'll see David Njoku be more of a seam threat. I think sometimes David Njoku hasn't been used properly. I think he's a red zone tight end. He's a red zone target. But we could be getting matchups with him matched up on linebackers that I think you'll see. And all of these things are possible because, once again, I think because you haven't seen Deshaun Watson in a calendar year, plus all the outside other noise, just go back and just watch what he's able to do well. And when you go back and watch, sometimes you're like, man, I forgot he was doing all that. I forgot he was moving like that, man. He didn't have all that. That is why that passing game is going to be dynamic this year, and it's going to even make the running game a little scarier, which is definitely what the Cleveland Browns need, especially during the start of the season. We got to get off to a good start this year. We got to get off to a good. None of this 1-4 stuff and playing a schedule game. We got to get off to a solid start and get this ball rolling downhill.
All right, so the Browns have been teasing us a little bit with some slow release. So here is some video from the Browns. Deshaun Watson working out, not in pads, but there's a really nice catch by Harrison Bryant. And now he finds Jamarcus Bradley. So again, it's been a slow release, but I like seeing the quarterback throwing the football there.
Oh, listen, it's beautiful. And by the way, that they're working on something specific. When you're down there on the red zone and you want to find a target in the back of the end zone, quarterbacks work on getting the ball high so guys can go up and get it and be able to get those 2 feet down. When you got guys and you throw the ball and it's, people say, well, that ball's kind of high. No, that's by default. They want to do that. They want to get guys up and they want to get that toe tap, the 2-foot toe tap to get it down. It just looks good, man. I try not to get too excited because I come out looking like a JV cheerleader. Oh my gosh, the Browns are going to be great. Oh my gosh. I try not to do it, but it doesn't. sometimes it don't work.
Well, the other thing is that's the only place the DB doesn't know where it's going, so the wide receiver can go and get it. This one you're going to like a lot, G. Bush. So this is which quarterbacks perform better second half of the year versus first half of the year. All right, so you see up on the right hand, now way off the charts is Aaron Rodgers. That's the headshot that's upper right-hand corner. That he's kind of in a class by himself. Then you got Brady and Mahomes. Deshaun Watson is there right between Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees. That's pretty good company. Baker Mayfield down more towards kind of the middle, Dak Prescott and kind of in the middle of it. But second half of the year, when games mean more, by and large, Deshaun Watson, through his 3 years when he's been playing, has been better second half of the year.
Like that chart. And it just goes to show you, I was expecting Baker to be a little farther behind. Baker wasn't too far behind. He was in the middle of the pack, which is solid play, but we need those guys. I'll take the guys in the top right-hand corner. I don't know much about math and algorithms, but I do know a good slope and why intercept when I see one. I like people trending to the far right-hand quadrant because those people are kind of off the charts a little bit. You see Aaron Rodgers over there. I was looking for the curly hair of Patrick Mahomes. I said, okay, there he goes. Deshaun Watson right there. I like that because at the end of the season when you need games, right? Because, the regular season, people don't forget, the NFL season it encompasses like 3 or 4 seasons. It's like it starts and it's hot. And then you be like, man, it's hot outside. And then games is 90 degrees in September. Then you go through the fall part of the season. Then you get to winter. And then if you're still playing at the end of the year, it's still winter. It's still winter. Like you in February and it's cold. So you need guys to be able to play. You need guys to be able to be hitting their stride when the best time of the season comes, and that's winning time, especially when you want to talk about in the AFC North. I want Cleveland for once, and I've been saying this for years. Please make this a home field advantage. Please. I need those guys to come up here, and I need them to be talking about, how cold it is and how blustery and the dog pound is. And some of those games, I was back in the time machine on YouTube, and I was checking out Bernie and some of those. Man, I got chills. I got chills just listening to, like, the crowd and that home field advantage, and it's cold, and people got the old Newman gloves on and the heaters. I need that here, too. And to do that, you need a strong running game and a quarterback that can cut the wind. I think Deshaun Watson can do all the above. I'm looking forward to you doing your best work at the end of the season. Yeah,
and I'm old enough. I covered those teams. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Football, when this team wins, this city is behind it without question. All right, before we go to break, we're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one, a question about Deshaun Watson and what's coming down the pike for him.
Hey, fellas. Here's an out-of-the-box idea that maybe Roger Goodell will consider in regard to Deshaun Watson's possible suspension. Deshaun did miss 17 games last year. Could Goodell consider those games missed as time served for a suspension and fine Deshaun those game checks based on last year's salary? In other words, one sum total payable this year. Or if found innocent, no harm, no foul. Seems unfair that the team and the fans have to lose one of our best players when a large fine can serve as a future deterrent. Here's to wishful thinking. Go Browns.
Like you're thinking, but G. Bush, that ain't the way that works. Roger Goodell is mom, and he's gonna your hands in the cookie jar, and you're getting your punishment.
I thought about it before. Last year when Deshaun Watson sat out, that was because he wanted to be traded, right? It was a contract dispute. He didn't want to be in Houston, and Houston said, "Well, we're not going to move to, we want to get the best we want to get the best, price for you." And for all the people that sit out there, by the way, it just goes to show you, if you sit out for a year, people forget whether you're good or bad, and they just have Marcus Mariota. He didn't play at all. He really wasn't getting any minutes. And now he's a starter, right? He's now starting down in Atlanta. Let's take a look at Deshaun Watson. He sat out a whole year. He came back under allegations. He got one of the biggest contracts in league history. Hey, Mitch Trubisky, he was a guy who didn't get any minutes out in Buffalo. He ended up at a better position or a better place. So all you quarterbacks, Baker, if you're listening, hey, look, get somewhere. If you don't take a snap in 22, don't worry about it. Don't trip. Because people will be like, hey, Baker was the number one pick. They'll forget whether or not you even deserve to be a quarterback, and you kind of reset the clock. But as far as the suspension goes, yeah, that's wishful thinking. That's not gonna happen, dog. They gonna.
No, you can. I'm open to any ideas, but I don't think that one. I don't think the commissioner's buying that one. G. Bush and I are gonna step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. What will the Browns' offense look like? We'll answer that when Sports4CLE continues. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, host of The Barber Shop on 92.3 The Fan from 8 until noon on Saturdays. Also host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday on YouTube. All right, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about what we might see from the Browns on the offensive side of the ball this year.
Hey, guys. I'm just so interested in what kind of an offense the Browns will run in 2023 with the addition of Deshawn Watson. Will the Browns run a running back style offense that we've had for the last several years, or will this be more of a potent passing offense style, Or crazier, could we possibly run an offense like the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson? Because, as you know, Watson is a good runner. We've seen this, so maybe, just maybe, we'll be like the Ravens, but we probably don't want to go too far into the run, since that would be kind of bad against the blitz when teams want to do that. So I'm just interested in what your guys' thoughts are on what kind of offense this team will be running next season. Thanks, guys.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, I will defer to you to begin this one. What do you think? What do you think the offense looks like with Deshaun Watson?
Nerve-wracking for defensive. I played defensive line, and there's one thing that I never wanted to play a team. I never wanted to play a team that was 50-50 balance. As a defensive lineman, I call it like trail mix. You could pull in, you get it in your hand and some of that trail mix, and you'd be like, ooh, this is great, because it got like peanuts and raisins and M&Ms, and it got sesame sticks and guava and pineapple and some cashews if it was a really expensive mix. That mix is the thing that really, because you don't know what you're really going to get in there. And that's what the Browns offense is like. I mean, when you have 2-3 strong running backs that can both catch the football, you could run anything. I expect this to be the most multiple offense that you've seen as far as formations, as far as shifting, as far as guys moving in motion. I expect to see a bunch of jet motion this year. Because they got 3 or 4 guys, specifically Schwartz and Felton, that can really, really do a lot of that. And the reason you run that jet motion is because you have options off of that. You can run jet motion this way and run your running backs the other way. You can run the jet motion. You can throw the quick screen. You run the jet motion. Now you can run the bootleg. All these different things that Kevin Stefanski is going to be able to use off the run pass options is going to be nerve-wracking. And then more than anything, you have to realize that the Browns can do everything and still have a devastating run game. And if you stop the run and you stop the pass, you now have what I call the playground game, which is Deshaun Watson creating extended plays, moving around, getting 5 yards when you needed 4 on fourth down, breaking teams' backs like that. It's just really nerve-wracking when you got a team that can do all of these different things. And I think the Browns offense is going to be one of the funnest teams to watch coming up in 2022.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you'll see more run-pass options because Watson does that pretty well. And I think you'll see him throwing mid to deep over the middle because he does that really well. And those are two things we haven't seen a lot of. But I think I'm with you. I think this will be a multiple offense. This is kind of interesting. So this is from the NFL on CBS. And these are the most rushing yards since 2018. Ravens have the most, the offense that the caller referenced. Titans, Seahawks, Browns, and Colts. None of those guys have won a Super Bowl, so you got to be able to throw the football in the modern NFL to win it. That's just my opinion. Feel free to agree or disagree.
Oh, look, we have Deshaun Watson because that's a fact. When you want to running the ball right now means you run to get people off the sticks, which means, hey, I'm up 7. I'm up 8. I need a 5, 6, 7 minute drive. I need something in the fourth quarter. You run the ball to ice people. Running the ball breaks the team's will, right? You don't run. Nowadays it's all about possessions. If you think you're going to run the ball, and just go back and look at what we did with the Kansas City Chiefs. We basically, those two games we talked about last year and the year before in the playoffs, we dominated those games, especially when it comes to time of possession, when it comes to dominating the ball, controlling the ball. We ran the ball well. We've dominated those games if you really look at it. But the thing is, in this NFL, you can't give good quarterbacks, the Herberts, the Mahomes, the Bradys. We just keep going on and on and on. You can't give those guys an extra opportunity, or it's gonna cost you. It's about how many possessions you can get. And you can't ask a defense to keep going out there with Patrick Mahomes and stopping them and holding them to 3. I mean, when I saw him run up and down the field on the Buffalo Bills in 13 seconds, I said, oh, Lord. Yeah, this is a new day. This not good. This ball control stuff, it sounds good, but this is not your or my father's NFL. You need to run the ball to ice teams, but you need to throw the ball to be competitive in this league. And I think the Browns can do both things now with the roster that they got.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. Earlier in the week, we showed video of Nick Chubb squatting 675 pounds like it was nothing. Motivates some people to go out and try it, so let's take a look. This one, making the rounds. It's Chubb's Burger, and I guess we should have said, do not try this at home, fans. And again, 675 pounds is a lot, and you can see some nifty editing there. But again, 675 pounds is no joke. There was some editing there, G. Bush. Nobody was harmed in the making of that video.
I was like, they set me up. What did I just see? Man, I was like, condolences to his family because I don't think if he's here, if he's with us still, his quality of life is not doing too well. But listen, hey, I'm going to give you a perspective. I played at Ohio University. I played 4 years. I played at Camp McKinley, man. Listen, don't be out here. The first things first. Listen, go to Planet Fitness, get you some cardio in. Stay away from the leg machines. I don't want to see anybody squatting, power cleaning, snatching, jerking, any Olympic lifts. The most I've ever squatted in my life is like 585. I'm going to tell you that. And I play D-line. Nick Chubb is a freak of nature, and good. Thank the Lord above that he's a nice man and never says anything bad to people. I don't think people be understanding how strong and big these dudes is. I just seen Myles Garrett doing some lifts with chains and all kind of other heavy machinery. Y'all cats is crazy, man. I'm gonna stay right over here in my studio.
I know.
But yeah, that's it's illegal. It's illegal. Shout out to Nick Chubb.
Absolutely. I've been in the weight room plenty, and to watch that hurts my back. That's all I can say. This is kind of interesting as well. So this is from NFL on CBS analyst Charles Davis. He was on 92.3 The Fan. This is from Keith Britton. David Bell is one of the guys I pounded the table for, bigger size Jarvis Landry. Doesn't mean he's going to be Jarvis Landry. He still has to prove that, but he thinks there's a role for him right away. That's Charles Davis, one of the NFL analysts who has played the game. I agree. The more I see of David Bell as far as video, more I like about him.
Man, I was watching, I think it was Building the Browns or something the other day, and I just lied. Somebody, and shout out to, I forget who this is. I want to give you credit. A couple people, a lot of people said this. Hey, G. Bush, hey, get this David Bell kid a chance. Like, I wasn't really overly impressed when I first heard of who they picked, but more and more I get to see it from him, more and more I get to like, you can't take away the production he had at Purdue. I mean, he wasn't doing it against MAC schools or something. No disrespect, but he was doing it against the Iowas, the Ohio States, the Michigan States, the Michigans. I mean, he was doing his thing in terms of getting open, catching the ball, high pointing the ball, making spectacular catches. And I'm gonna tell you what, I think he's 95% of the reason why we keep. Like right now, the Browns don't seem too crazy about dialing up Jarvis Landry, right? They don't. To me, they look like they're content. Like, all right, well, we got this young kid, David Bell. We want to give him some touches anyway. We at least gonna see what he's gonna do in one of these mini camps, the rookie mini camps, and some of the stuff we get in the OTAs. But I think they like. Their receiving core, and one of the main reasons is because I think they think he could come in and contribute off the top. And I think just looking at what he does, his mentality, I'm interested to see how he does. But yeah, I think the Browns have big plans for him, especially this year. Watch when people start talking. Who's looking good in camp? The beat reporter. Who's looking good in camp? David Bell just keeps making catches. He just keeps making plays. I think he's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm interested to get that going and see what he does out when they start doing football stuff. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we turn our attention to the offensive line. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You can catch it 11 to 1 on YouTube Monday through Friday. G. Bush, let's take a look at this. 2022 offensive rankings for tackles as far as tiers go, Pro Football Focus. So the elite tier was Trent Williams, David Bakhtiari, Tristan Wirfs. Jack Conklin checks in at tier 4. Very good starter, number 11 overall. Should return to form as a reliable pass protector, one of the better run blockers over the past 3 years. Conklin ranks 95th percentile as far as run blocking to earn that positive grade. And he really wasn't healthy all of last year. That might get overlooked a little bit. Some of the woes that the Browns offense felt because they were beat up.
Yeah, there's two big. Well, if you think about it, Jedrick Wills was beat up too.
Yeah.
His season started off with the ankle sprain against the Chiefs week 1. He just was never the same. He struggled. There was times they thought he was going to have to shut him down. And so he struggled at left tackle. He's a little bit of a younger player with a less less history of injuries. But for me, Conklin is probably one of the guys who people will have the most questions about, mainly out of any of the starters in terms of the veteran guys. That injury that he had with his knee is something that as you get older, I always look at guys who have if you have an injury with a CL at the end, you might have some issues. ACL, MCL, PCL, LCL, all them L's, and you getting up there about 20, 28, 29, 30 years old, those are tough to come back from, especially when you're talking about the flexibility, bending. Guys are rush ins now. They always running the hoops, running that arc with that bend, able to turn the corner. So you have to be able to bend and have that the ability to bend your knees, not at the waist as an offensive lineman, and still have that balance and power and strength and agility as well to block those guys like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. So, it's going to be something to see if he comes back. If he can get back to where he was in 2020, I think the Browns will be okay. I think the Browns will be solid. I'm just looking forward to seeing if he can do that. If not, they're going to have to find, Hubbard. They still have him. They still have another guy, the kid from Cincinnati. Last year, he played a little bit too. So they're going to have to find somebody to take that position if he's still hurt or injured and can't really live up to the 2020 form.
Well, you mentioned Wills. So Wills had a really good rookie year, and he was on one leg most of last year. But this is his rookie year, and how good he was. This is the lowest pressure rate allowed for a rookie left tackle since 2010. And he was tied for first with Rashawn Slater from this year. And again, remember, he switched from right tackle to left tackle. Again, I know people have been kind of hard on Jedrick Wills. He was playing on one leg. That's a tough way to play line in the NFL.
Yeah, you talk about, there was a couple people that were playing injured the whole last year. See, people forget Jarvis Landry had surgery. I mean, he was just gone for 4 or 5 weeks. He had surgery during the middle of the year on his knee. He had surgery the previous year as well with an injury. And so he spent basically the last 2 years injured. Jedrick Wills is another guy with Baker Mayfield that people talked about shutting it down. He could have been shut down for a couple of weeks there with the ankle. And it's just tough. When you are that big, I think people don't understand. Your legs and your base are everything when you're a tackle, because you're beating people, and how you beat guys is with a consistent base, with a good punch, and being able to move your feet laterally to guard and to kind of block some of these edge rushers, especially at left tackle. So if you're out there on a freshly sprained ankle, just think about how tough it is to have a strong base, but at the same time move your feet quickly. So I knew he was going to struggle a little bit throughout the year, especially given the fact that, he had an ankle injury. I think he'll have a much better year this year. I think people will see Deshawn Watson once again will help everybody out because he'll get rid of the ball quickly. And at times he does hold the ball too long. He can extend plays and run and scramble and make everybody look better. So I definitely think Wills will have definitely a better year this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was excited after his rookie year, and I'd like to see that kind of track continue. All right, before we go to break, this is, again, all right, before we go to break, this is, again, Albert Breer, 92.3 The Fan, regarding Jadeveon Clowney. If a team closer to home winds up making an offer that's competitive with the Browns, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Browns feel pretty good that they have more than a decent shot at getting him back. When they say closer to home, they mean a warmer climate team. I mean, let's call it what it is. But it sure seems like there's a very high mutual interest between the Browns and Clowney in coming back. Do you get that kind of sense as well?
Yeah. I think he changed his. When I saw him tweeting when Deshaun Watson got traded to the Browns, it was like, oh yeah, we got an opportunity to get Clowney back. He was wide awake after that one. You look at the opportunity which you're able to do, and you got to keep in mind with this too. There's a lot of people who are with the Cleveland Browns now who saw Odell Beckham Jr. leave, go to the Rams, and see him be able to win a championship. And it's nothing like seeing somebody that you was just practicing with, you was just, hanging out with, after the playing video games with, in the locker room with, in the trenches trying to win games with. They go off, and in a few weeks, he's a Super Bowl. He got the trophy. They see him crying on the field. Like, to them, I think that woke a lot of people up because it just shows you how quickly your life can change. It shows you how quickly things can turn for the worse, for the better or the worse, depending on what side of the line you're on. And for a lot of Browns, when Deshaun Watson got traded to the Cleveland Browns, they looked at the roster and was like, well, hold on. I mean, they already got Nick Chubb. They already got Kareem Hunt. And I forgot they even I forgot they even had Amari Cooper. Like, and you'll say, well, let me go to the secondary. They already got Denzel Ward. Well, wow, Newsom played well last year. Hey, JOK was injured, but I mean, when he was playing, I mean, he looked like a dominant type guy. And he said, well, they got one of the best lines, one of the two great guards. All of a sudden, if you're Jadeveon Clowney, you're like, yeah, I like the warm weather, but like I said, half the season is played in the warm anyway. All of August and September will be warm. All I got to do is make it to the February, and I can get up out of here and go to South Carolina, Florida for the offseason. But this team is ready to win now, and they're a bona fide contender. And I think that makes all the difference when you talk about a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who's got a couple of contracts now.
Absolutely, and you put him on that line, and a lot of things look a whole lot better for the Browns as well. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take one more timeout. Other side of the break, some players for the Browns with a lot to prove. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show from 11 to 1 o'clock here on YouTube Monday through Friday. All right, 4 players with a lot to prove this year from the Browns. This is from Dog Pound Daily. They go David Njoku, tight end. Linebacker Jacob Phillips was banged up, injured most of last year, at least the beginning part of it. Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver who kind of stepped up and then maybe plateaued towards the end of the year. And Grant Delpit, with the most proved safety, missed all of his rookie season with that Achilles injury. G. Bush, when you look at those, which of those 4 guys do you think takes the biggest jump? Who are you excited to see?
I think Grant Delpit by far will take the biggest jump. I think what you'll see with Grant Delpit is I started to like what they did with him. There were some games they had him in the box. He looked explosive, coming off the edge, hitting guys in the backfield, tackles for loss, getting his hands on the football. I thought he played a tremendous game against the Minnesota Vikings. I thought he did a good job in that game. I think he was just getting to his point where we started to see at one point in time. Grant Delpit, by the way, is probably one of the most highly decorated guys when it comes to high school, college, and him being at one point in time, he was looked at as one of the game changers at safety, like, you know, when he was coming out of college. I think he had an ankle injury that kind of slowed him down at LSU. Then he has the Achilles here. I think this year you're going to see the real Grant Delpit. Anytime you have those injuries, right, Achilles heel or something like that, I've had 2 ACL surgeries. ACL, yeah, you guys can get back within 6 to 8 months, but you got to think about it. That's just to get back on baseline. That's not improving your game. That's not getting faster. That's not reading and reacting better. That's not getting that's just getting back to where you were. So everybody else who had a year to practice, they're not worried about rehabbing. They're getting faster, stronger, watching film and working on their game. You're just trying to get back to where you were as a baseline. So last year, that was status quo. It was just like, hey, I'm trying to get out here. My goal is to get through the season without being injured. Now this year is where you could put that work in. You were training in off season. You've been in the film work. You got your personal trainer. Your nutrition is right. Now you should be able to see the Grant Delpit. I think that's going to be a playmaker, not just in the right spot, but a playmaker in terms of the passing game and down in the box making some tackles. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to really pop this year for the Cleveland Browns.
He's a guy that's versatile. You can blitz him. You saw it. I love him when he comes on blitzes. I'm with you. I like he can do a lot of things. Let me ask you about David Njoku. It just kind of seemed like they didn't take advantage of what he can do. When I look at David Njoku, I'm like, man, how do you cover that guy? You put a safety on him, he's going to outmuscle him. You put a linebacker on him, he's going to outrun him. What do you do?
You know, I think David Njoku has come a long way, right? I think his stats haven't really bear or to show that how much of a better player that he is nowadays. I think when he first got in the league, he couldn't block anybody. I mean, he's not the greatest blocker in the world right now, but he's a better blocker. I thought he had trouble catching the ball as well, too. He would make the spectacular catch, but then he would let a ball get into his body, hit his face mask, dropped a lot of easy targets. I think now he's a much more different player. I think he's a better player. And I think that what you'll see is now they'll start to feature him on certain things. I think he's a tight end if you look at it. He's a tight end that he should be getting 1,000 yards. They should come tell him, look, man, you're one of those guys. You should be watching, tape of guys who have been getting 1,000 yards in this league. Antonio Gates of the world, guys that know how to use their body, guys who aren't as fast, who isn't athletic, who isn't as big, who can't jump as high, but they know how to get open. If he can learn how to get open and catch the balls that he's supposed to be where he's supposed to, Deshaun Watson will find him. I think that this will be a breakout year. Now, the question is, if he does have a breakout year, is he a guy that the Cleveland Browns are willing to extend? That is, to me, that is the question, the $1 million question. How much is it worth if he does have a breakout year? Because quietly as kept, the Cleveland Browns just keep paying top 5 guys at their position. I want to see how much they value. And Kevin Stefanski likes tight ends. They did get rid of Austin Hooper. So are they willing to invest long term if he does have a breakout year?
That'll be really interesting as well. All right, before I let you go, schedule release tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Which game are you looking forward to the most? Which game or games? And which ones do you think end up in primetime type slots?
Ooh, I would like to. I love the fact last year I saw the Browns on that Christmas day, loved it. I think the NFL, to be truthful, NBA, you guys better watch out. That game got crazy ratings. I thought they had two good teams, Packers and Browns, two traditional, really big fan bases. I love that game. I think to me, Christmas is a much better look. I know we got Thanksgiving is kind of like, to me, watered down because the Lions have been trashed for years. The Lions and Cowboys gonna play every single year. So it's like you're only just watching a couple other teams play. Like, it's like, okay, we know what that's gonna be. But I'm gonna tell you what, that Christmas Day might be moving in on that NBA territory where they like to put the Knicks on at 12 and the Celtics on at 3, and then they want to put the Nuggets on at midnight. I'm not watching those. Give me that football game. And if Baker went in through 4 picks last year, I think it would have been a much better game against the Packers. So give me that one, and I want to see if the Browns could get in another one of them type games.
All right, G. Bush, as always, man, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Anytime, y'all have a good day.
You too, G. Bush. Make sure you watch him. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as the Barber Shop. All right, the Guardians game against the White Sox was canceled today. Terry Francona tested positive for COVID. A number of other players and coaches in the Guardians traveling party tested positive as well. They're doing contact tracing. So the Guardians game, the series wrap-up against the White Sox canceled today. They have the day off tomorrow. They're supposed to be in Minneapolis, St. Paul, to play the Twins. But again, they have to sort all that out. And they're doing that right now with contact tracing, as a number of Guardians coaches and the traveling party, along with Terry Francona, have tested positive for COVID-19. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Ashley Bastock on the other side of the break. We will talk more Browns here on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's welcome in Ashley Bastock from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Ashley, I know you wrote an article, 3 big questions that the Browns have to answer following the 2022 draft. Kind of take us through that and your thoughts with this.
Yeah, for me, like, one of the biggest questions going into this season is who is that number 2 receiver going to be? And I think for the longest time, we've maybe been thinking, oh, surely they're going to go out and get another veteran, right? Like they're going to go out and get some kind of help for this offense. But as my colleague Mary Kay Cabot has reported now, I do think it's interesting that they're kind of expecting Deshaun Watson to elevate the play of some of these younger receivers. So a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones, for example, who maybe last year didn't excel in that number 2 role, but they're kind of looking at what jump he might be able to take in year 3. Then you have a younger guy like Anthony Schwartz going into his 2nd year. What kind of jump can he make, especially if he's healthy with a better quarterback in terms of throwing the football? So I definitely think that's one of the biggest questions. The other big one for me is Jadeveon Clowney coming back? And if he does, when is he coming back? And what does this defense look like if he does versus does not make a return to Cleveland? So I'm still personally optimistic that we're going to see him back. I think he fits very nicely on this defense. And especially when we've seen Myles Garrett lobbying for him on social media and doing so fairly openly, because Myles doesn't do that for just anyone or just anything. It's pretty, I think it says something when he's being vocal. So definitely I am curious about how some of those things play out in the coming weeks, especially as we get closer and closer to training camp. But just the way this offense is going to look, especially, I think is super interesting with some of these guys who are coming back and are going to be maybe more on the veteran side of things now. Plus, you've got a guy in David Bell who you added at 99, and what kind of role is he going to have? So all some interesting things going into the next phase of the offseason here.
Yeah, and it will be really interesting to see how much of a difference Deshaun Watson makes and how different the offense will look, because it's not going to be the same with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. It will have a different feel. One of the guys you mentioned is David Bell. So rookie minicamp preview: which Browns draftees could help in 2022? This is from ESPN.com. Number 1, they say Cade York, the kicker. Number 2, they say the guy we've been talking about already, David Bell. Number 3, Perrion Winfrey, the defensive tackle. 4 is Martin Emerson, which the cornerback that surprised some people. He probably will get the chance to play some. And then number 5 is Alex Wright. When you look at that, let's take Cade York out of the equation, because the kicker's going to be an impact kind of guy, and they needed the kicker. Which of the guys, Bell, Winfrey, Emerson, Wright, who do you think makes the biggest impact?
I actually think that ranking might be right. The only ones I might switch might be Perrion Winfrey and David Bell. And that's just because David Bell's going to be a rookie receiver. Obviously, we have Amari Cooper. We have David Bell too is not a deep ball guy, right? Like we've talked about this as a staff at cleveland.com, and when we posed the question, like, could David Bell be a receiver who potentially leads the team one year? Don't think that's super likely, just given his style. He's a high production guy, but that doesn't really include deep balls, and he's not the fastest guy on the team. So that's certainly going to be an element of it. But Perrion Winfrey, I think, especially knowing how limited the Browns were at defensive tackle last year, and I just think he slides in really nicely and fits with what this defense is trying to do. He can get involved in the pass rush. And they were just so thin at that position. I think they're kind of like desperate for any kind of contribution like that. And I think he has the potential to really bring it. And I think he could fit nicely alongside Myles Garrett if Jadeveon Clowney comes back as well. More veteran leadership on either side of him there. So I'm personally, I think he might be the rookie that I am the most excited to see how he fits in on this team. And I think he could really produce for what the Browns are looking for.
Now, we excluded Cade York from that. Took him in the 4th round. If they like him, I don't have an issue with him. The thing I like about him, real accurate from 50 plus. That's such a weapon. And, the Browns see what that's like defensively with Justin Tucker and Evan McPherson, so that they know they live that 4 times a year.
Exactly. I think it gives you a different perspective when you're up against, a guy who's in the conversation for greatest kicker of all time twice a year, and Justin Tucker, and like you said, Evan McPherson, the new face on the scene this past year. And I really think especially with Evan McPherson being added to that Bengals roster, it got the Browns thinking about what they need consistency there, and they haven't had it since Phil Dawson. And I remember when we talked to special teams coordinator Mike Prefer in January, and it was all about drafting kickers. And he mentioned, we're not going to draft somebody just to draft somebody. It has to be the right guy. And he mentioned, a lot of people thought Evan McPherson was going to be different when they drafted him. I think a lot of people felt that way about Cade York as well. And those two have some interesting history going back to college and the infamous Fog game. They were on opposite sides of the football there. Cade York made the game-winning field goal in that game. Evan McPherson did not. So it's all really interesting storylines, I think, with kickers, and the Browns are just such in an interesting position. I think the fan base is hungry for some solid kicking in the years since Phil Dawson, and much like Cleveland fans appreciate offensive linemen, I think they appreciate great kicking as well. So I understand why the fan base is so excited for this one.
Did you have an issue at all take him in the 4th round? I certainly did not. I think it's that important.
No. I did. I was going to be very stressed out, I think, if they did not take him with one of those 3 picks that they had right there after 99. So I really am. I think you cannot stress how important kicking has become, especially in this division, because, we've joked, and I'm like, there's some truth in every punchline, right? That Justin Tucker might be the scariest person on that Ravens team if there's like less than a minute left in the game and they have the ball. Like, they just have to get to the 50-yard line and they have a chance to get some points on the board. So I just really think, too, when you look at the history of Cleveland and the fact that there just has not been that solid performer, that steady performer since Phil Dawson retired. It's truly, you cannot overstate how much Cade York could mean for this team.
Ashley Bastock and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, NFL schedule release date tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We'll get to Ashley's idea of what games might be in prime time and what games she's looking forward to. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Ashley Bastock from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. So the NFL, in its infinite wisdom, has turned the schedule release into a huge event. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, everybody will know who they are playing, when they are playing, are they in prime time. Which games do you think, which ones are you looking forward to? Which ones do you think end up in prime time? And what do you think awaits the Browns as far as how many primetime games?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to what I'm looking forward to personally, I'm super excited for the division games they have against the Ravens and the Bengals. I just think it's going to be obviously a totally different landscape this year. I think we've seen the Browns defense matches up really well with that Bengals offense. They're kind of built to defend the pass. So those are some exciting games. Obviously, you have Tom Brady and the Bucs coming to town this year, so that's certainly exciting and has plenty of storylines there lined up. I mean, when you talk about big marquee games, going to Buffalo this year, that's going to be a huge one. So, when looking at how many primetime games they might have, I think the Baltimore game in Baltimore is certainly a candidate. That's one that we saw the last couple of years, actually. And I just think the atmosphere that they put on down there is truly phenomenal. I think one of the Bengals games could easily be a candidate for a primetime game if it's not immediately on the schedule, maybe a flex game later in the year. At Pittsburgh versus the Steelers, that's certainly a candidate. That Buffalo game might be a candidate. There are a handful of games, maybe like 4 or 5 games, I think, that you could easily see in prime time or flexed to prime time if it goes that way. But I just think the AFC North has so many storylines this year and good quarterback play, and it just was such a wonky division last year, and injuries played such a factor in everything. So I think for me, those are still like the marquee matchups on the schedule for me. And I'm curious to see how backloaded the schedule is with division games, because last year all the Browns division games were played week 8 and onward. So I'm very curious if that is a similar thing this year, or if they get a division game, if it's snuck in maybe slightly earlier this year.
Yeah, and there's, the AFC is loaded with really good quarterbacks. So that'll be, they play Justin Herbert. You got Josh Allen. So those will be very interesting to see. All right, so we've seen the roster. We kind of talked about it. Do you think they're done signing free agents? And this is assuming Clowney comes back, or is that the one guy you think that they may sign?
Yeah, I'm still, like I said earlier, I'm still kind of holding out hope for Jadeveon Clowney. I think he fits really well here. And I think he fits really well playing alongside Myles Garrett. So who's to say? This isn't me reporting on it. It's just kind of like a feeling I have and hope I have, if you will. I just think it could be a perfect fit as long as the stars sort of align financially for both sides of this. And I think Jadeveon Clowney has been very honest when we've talked to him about this, and money's not the only thing, but it is a thing, right? And he's coming off a sort of career resurgence year, so we'll see ultimately if those sides could come to an agreement. But I think if they do, one thing that I'm interested to see is how incentive laden his contract becomes, because it was pretty incentive laden last year. He missed out on some money that he would have gotten had the Browns made the postseason. So there was definitely even more money to be earned there. So I'm really curious to see if they do bring him back, what that looks like, what agreement they ultimately reach. But from there, we haven't heard much about them bringing in veteran receivers. It doesn't seem like they're going that route. Kind of like I said earlier, they're going to maybe rely on some of these younger guys who are transitioning into veteran roles. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think maybe the movement is slightly quieter now.
All right, this is kind of interesting. So Baker Mayfield's still a member of the Browns. Obviously, Browns trying to trade him. Take a look at this tweet. So 24 quarterbacks have been taken in the first round since 2014. Among them, Baker Mayfield ranks 7th in wins above replacement per season, 6th in total wins, 9th in efficient passing accuracy per play, and 8th in total efficient passing accuracy. So when you look at those, it's kind of a head scratcher why people, and I get the contract and the $19 million, but those numbers talk to a guy that can be a starter and probably should be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like an anomaly, right? Because you look at those numbers, that's one thing, but you look at the eye test from this past year, and that's obviously a totally different thing in what we saw with Baker Mayfield down the stretch, and even the stats down the year. I mean, he was towards the bottom of the league in just about every statistical ranking that you could find on PFF. And obviously, I think going back to the season, a big question has been how much of that was due to injury versus like the confidence being shaken because of an injury. I think those are all fairly valuable questions. And I do think when we've talked about Baker Mayfield, he is like worthy of some criticism, right? But I think maybe the pendulum has swung a bit too far in the other direction. And we talk about that a lot on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast, that there are certainly things you can criticize him for, but it's not like he is a total bottom of the barrel option, so to speak. And we've maybe gotten a little bit too harsh on him in certain quarters of Twitter and the internet and things like that. But yeah, I do think there is obviously still a place for him in the NFL, even if that place isn't in Cleveland, even if Cleveland believes he is not their guy, or he is not their guy, maybe he is somebody else's guy. And there certainly, I think, is still a place for him in the NFL. And if it takes the landscape shifting a little bit here in the offseason and training camps, via injuries or a team realizing maybe we don't like who we have on our roster as much as we thought we did, let's give Baker Mayfield a shot. But I do think obviously he's in an interesting situation, given the fact he's coming off an injury, giving how much money he is owed, giving the fact it is that 5th-year option for him. All of those things you can't be ignored, right? So like, even though you look at some of those advanced stats, the money is still a factor and it's still a business at the end of the day. So you kind of have to take it all with a little bit of a grain of salt, I think.
Yeah, and again, he's a guy that can play, and he was wildly inconsistent, I think, is probably the one thing that you would say if you were going to criticize him fairly. Ashley Bastock, as always, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ashley Bastock. Make sure you read her, Pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests Quincy Carrier and Casey Kinnaman from Dog Pound Daily. Tomorrow's schedule release day at 8 o'clock for the NFL. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.